Before the electric execution, a patch of the inmate's hair would be shaved off. Then the prison guard would wet a sponge and place it on the inmate's head to ensure that during the execution, the electric current could make full contact with the skin, minimizing his pain as much as possible. After the electric shock was administered, a doctor still needed to confirm the inmate's death for the process to be considered complete. But the new prison guard deliberately did not wet the sponge. He just placed it directly on the inmate's head. He wanted to see what would happen. His colleague standing nearby didn't notice anything unusual either. Soon, the execution was about to start. Paul, who was in charge of supervision, noticed there were no water stains around the bucket. He had a bad feeling, but it was already too late to stop it. His colleague had already flipped the switch. A powerful electric current ran through the inmate's body. Because the sponge wasn't wet, the inmate felt extreme pain. Soon, smoke began to rise from his body, and the smell of burning flesh filled the air. Paul tried to stop it but was held back. Once an electric execution started, it couldn't be halted. They could only let everything unfold. The witnesses in the viewing room covered their noses and mouths, terrified and wanting to flee. Soon, the strong current set the inmate on fire. Paul knew well that cutting off the power would only make the inmate suffer more. Only death would bring relief. Even the victims' families couldn't bear the sight before them, and they all rushed out the door. The new guard also turned around in fear. When Paul saw this, he rushed over and forced him to watch the crime he had committed. After a long period of agony, the inmate finally stopped moving. The guards quickly cut off the power. Paul handed a fire extinguisher to the new guard, telling him to clean up the mess he had made. But afterward, the new guard claimed he didn't know the sponge needed to be wet. His colleague was so furious that he punched him. They had clearly rehearsed everything beforehand, and now he was saying he didn't know? It was obvious he had done it on purpose, but no one dared to hold him accountable. Because the new guard had connections, he had also had a grudge against that inmate before. At this moment, the warden walked over and yelled at everyone. Yet the only punishment the new guard received was being transferred to another post. Just then, a strong inmate, Coffee, said he could fully feel the pain the death row inmate had endured. Paul didn't believe what Coffee said, not until that day. When Paul was escorting a new robber inmate, he was accidentally hit in the groin by the robber. He forced himself to stand up despite the pain and used his gun to order the robber to stop, but the robber paid no attention. Fortunately, the deputy captain arrived in time. Paul tried to stay calm, telling everyone to go to the infirmary for a checkup. Once everyone had left, he collapsed to the ground in pain. It turned out he suffered from severe urethritis. When it flared up badly, he would break out in a cold sweat from the pain. Just then, Coffee called out to him. Paul stumbled over, but Coffee grabbed him suddenly. The light bulb in the cell burst instantly, and Coffee finished the treatment. He returned to his bed, exhausted, and spat out a sticky substance. When Paul went to the bathroom, he found his illness was really cured. Only then did he finally believe Coffee.